I think I was more devastated when I lost my taste and smell than actually the virus itself. Because I was like, I can't even I can't smell my coffee. I can't taste my coffee. Everything tasted like iron. That's the only thing I could think. It's like a bitter, like I eat a chicken sandwich and it tastes like I was eating a penny.
Ugh.
And that has done better, but like I love wax smells and air freshener, that type. I can't, nothing.
Wow. Sorry, that's, geez. You said a year?
A year. It was a year, December 6th. Not that I'm keeping up with it, but.
Jeez.
I have a friend who she had it probably 3 months after I did. And she is 2 years older than me. And she has been in the hospital like 6 times. It has attacked her. Like she has blood clots and respiratory, not the pneumonia so much, but the blood clots that she's been in there in the hospital at least 6 times.
Hey guys, I just want to make you aware that we're now streaming live on YouTube. Hey, can you all see the board agenda on that I'm sharing?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Hey everyone.
Hi Lakeisha, how are you?
Good. Happy New Year to those I have not seen yet.
Good to see you.
I'm on a different laptop tonight, so I'm making sure I don't have too many technical issues. Forgive me if I have to go on and off camera to get myself straightened out over here. I'm just checking for quorum before we start. Fantastic.
Quorum is 4, right?
Yep. I do know that Nancy is in Wales and is unable to join us this evening. She usually joins even when she is away, but she's not able to this time around.
Okay, I think we do. We have you, Amy,
Mhm.
Chuck.
Yep.
And Lori.
Lori.
Yep.
Fantastic. I was going to ask for Mr. Stephen Hill to do our minutes since he was the previous secretary.
Is he here?
He's just not here yet. I just need someone to volunteer. It can be anyone who's up for the task to take minutes, at least until he joins us. As far as I know, he plans to be here.
Yeah, he's coming in right now.
Ah, fantastic. All right, since we do have our quorum, I would love to call the meeting to order if someone would be so kind to give a motion.
I'll make that motion. Or second it, whatever.
All those in favor of calling us to order?
Aye.
Fantastic. We are now calling our meeting to order. Thanks again for joining us, everyone. Let's go ahead and jump into those minutes from the December 4th meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those or need an extra couple minutes to review or ask any questions, get clarification on anything? All right. Sounds like all is okay. I too had time to review and everything looked okay to me. So if there's nothing from anyone else, going once, going twice. All right. Love to have a motion to approve those minutes from our December 4th meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes of the December 4 meeting.
And
I'll second that thing.
all those in favor of approving December 4th, 2021 minutes? Fantastic. Motion carried. We have official minutes. All right. What about any visiting speakers, families, community members, faculty? Did anyone sign up on our Google Doc?
Not that I saw.
Okay. In that case, let's move on to our next agenda item, which I have in front of me. There we go. Finance updates from Ben and Acadia.
Yeah, Robin, I just made you the host so that you could share your screen if you'd like.
Okay, you know me, and can you see it or no?
Yeah, it needs to be a little bigger, I think.
Can you see that, or is that,
I can see it as just small.
okay, hold on. How about that? No?
Maybe a little bigger.
Well,
For the percentages at the top of your screen, see how it says 72%? Can you make it slightly bigger?
72%, where are you at?
At the top of your screen?
In your little ribbon,
Hold on, let me try to get y'all off the screen. In my what? My ribbon.
Yeah, there's a percentage there, and there's also like a magnifying glass and a plus and a minus.
Okay, I have no idea where y'all are. Over here. I don't see a ribbon and
If you look to the far left, you see a yellow folder and a printer.
nope.
You don't see that on your screen?
No, but I'm wondering if I'm on the wrong screen. How about this?
That's good.
That's better.
Do you see the budget that says like a Katie North Star and then the budget report with the, is that what you see?
We see the, it says the detail report.
Yes, that's what it was. I had the surplus up. So is that big enough?
Yeah, that one's big enough.
Okay, so, but I need you to see this column, the recommended budget. Can you, if I go a little bit smaller, can you see that?
That's better, yeah.
Okay, so we've worked since the last presentation. We've worked and actually received the state final numbers. So we've adjusted, or not adjusted, but recommended the following column K. So currently column E is where your budget is based on the recommendations, changes, activity through December this column K that we're looking at right here is what, if there's anything in yellow, it's my recommendation that you should adjust accordingly. It's a work in progress. We haven't adjusted salaries yet because of a lot of the grant money has not dropped. But for the most part, any of the changes that we've done, if you see it in yellow, these are changes that I'm recommending thus far. So basically, I've already changed the state, so that's why it's not yellow. And it's based on, I was going to pull that up while we were on the call. Hold on one second. Let me pull it up. So Cape Pierce come in at 408 students, and they upped your dollar per child to $5,907.10. Right now, it's based on 59 EC children. And then you had like 30,473 in E-rate. So those are the little pots of money that I've added to the budget. So you can see those up there at the very top. And then based on your ADM, your first PMRs, all the way through, right now you're at your third. Some counties are at the fourth PMR. The county monies is what I'm recommending you adjust accordingly with regards to how many kids were in Brunswick, Duplin, New Hanover, Pendo, so on and so forth. Other than that, there wasn't a big adjustment as far as revenue goes, but you can see the yellow areas where I've recommended that you change. Like I mentioned, the salary area, the only thing that I've changed, because we did not do any adjustments, this is a bigger project once we determine who should hit what grant. Are the monies coming in accordingly? Then we'll adjust these probably in January. But right now, the only salary line that I adjusted was your substitutes. And I just upped that $5,000 based on your historical to date. As we go down, sales tax, that's a wash. So I base that, basically you've collected or spent so far 7,600. So I put 10,000. On the flip side, you get that money back when we apply for it twice a year. So it's a wash. So I just both of those to 10, just for cleaner records. Adjusted some EC workshops and some education reimbursements. I know you're going to think I'm crazy. I upped this like 40 something dollars just because my OCD kicked in. I think I mentioned that before, just to try to make sure that we're on target with the interest and the principal as far as that goes. No big deal. Custodial services, you have a contracted service person that we have no budget for. I'm projecting 15.6 in that area, along with supplies. The biggest area that I think I adjusted was your computers, and the school can attest to that as to what you've spent so far. Right now, you've spent almost 35,000 in tech equipment for the office. So I added 35,000, and then so on and so forth down there. Equipment, instructional, that's furniture, more like furniture and supplies or equipment within your office. Like if you had a bookcase or desks or chairs or whatever, that's that section right here where I added 12,000, or not added, from 10 to 12. And those are really the only changes that I've made so far. If you'll notice, we're in a deficit of 20,000. I wouldn't harp too much on that, because that is truly us trying to get where we need to be. But at the end of the day, we haven't adjusted any of those lines that have overages. We've just made sure that we're covering the lines that we've overspent, if that makes sense. And then we'll go back and adjust for salaries and whatnot, as well as the EC transfers that have not taken place yet. So DPI hasn't released those numbers, which hopefully will increase your state money as well. Any questions?
Robin, on that, as far as the deficit, as you and I discussed the other day, on that, just so folks can be clear, is once we get in there, especially with the tech, and look at moving some of that around with federal funding and things like that, that would that has the potential to reduce that deficit. Am I correct in that? Just so folks have an understanding.
Yes, so if you wrote a grant, for example, that would cover some computers or furnitures, I think like for your let's just use your DHHS grant. You
Mhm.
wrote it for some tech equipment and furniture. We haven't allocated those to that grant yet, so we could move those expenses down and then be able to free up state and local monies and then reduce that budget.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes.
What were the, Robin, I don't know if you're the person to tell me this or just had questions. What was the technology that was bought? And then can you tell us more about the custodial contract that we didn't have anything budgeted for?
Sarah, I'll be happy to answer that. Sorry to jump in on that, Robin. I'll
you're
start
good.
with the custodial first. With that, we did have to utilize a temp service for a while for custodial staff. And that wasn't due to staffing issues, and that wasn't budgeted that way. It was a salary line originally, but because we had to contract out for a time being, that's why that was there. That issue, though, has since been resolved, so that wouldn't be a permanent thing moving forward. That was just due to an emergent labor shortage at the time. So, and with the technologies that were purchased, there were a number of projectors that had, were past their prime, that had to be replaced. There's always laptops that have just met their end as well. So things like that. But going back to Robin's example of the DHHS budget, with that, we did have to purchase some additional, for staffing, some additional computers, but those will be, in fact, those will be reimbursed to us. Those costs will be reimbursed through that testing line. So that's the, and the other thing is there were some basic needs that we didn't have on hand, that we've really pushed for in your day-to-day stuff. I don't mean even big technology items, just making sure we have enough spools of Ethernet cord to make repairs, things like that, where we never had a backup inventory. We've been building towards that backup inventory.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions on budget? Thank you again, Robin. You're always really helpful and very gracious to put up with our technology and all of that to help get us the information we need. We really do appreciate you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I will, if the board is good with this, then I will go ahead and update the main database. And then next month or the next, when I present, the recommended budget will go and it would now be in the current budget column. And then we can move forward each time.
Say that one more time, about what going into the current budget column?
So if the board is good with column K and the changes and recommendations that I made, then I will go into the system and change those. So next month, those would actually be on the report in column E. And
Gotcha.
then give them a full, yeah.
That certainly sounds fine by me. Does that require any type of a vote, or you're just making sure we're aware?
That is totally depends on your board policy and procedures. Does the board have to vote, or is it truly up to the school to make those recommendations and then move forward? I'm not sure how your board policy is set up.
I feel like and anyone who definitely knows off the top of their head, please do chip in. Since this isn't about any specific purchase or specific line items, it's really just balancing out our budget and getting us current. It's my understanding that this does not require a vote. Okay, very good. Well, then we are good to go, Miss Robin.
Very well, and I hope y'all have a great evening, and I'll take care of this, and then next month present an updated reflection of where you are.
Hey, Robin, before you go, could you make me the host again, please?
Oh, you're asking for a lot. I know.
We
You
always
go-
do.
If you go to participants and you see
Speaking
my
of-
name, there'll be a
Speaking of
button.
technology challenges, looking. How'd I do? Is that good? Did I do it?
Fantastic.
I
It-
think so. Thank you so much.
All right. Y'all have a great evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, no, she did not do
End
it.
meeting. No, I'm on end meeting for all. I didn't do it, did I?
No, you have to go to my
Look, I
name.
was about to kick all of y'all out.
Yeah, go to my name and hit more.
Thank
and
you for
then
not
make
doing
me
that.
the host.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Are y'all there?
Uh-huh.
Oh, gravy.
Yay, I've got Danielle as host now. I got a notification.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I was gonna
I'm
say,
all-
I think so.
Okay. Yep.
maybe.
Now I can just leave. Thanks,
Oh,
You're off
everybody.
the hook.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.
All right.
So next, Lakeisha, I don't have I can't see the agenda because I have the,
Oh, that's okay. I've still got a little bit more under finance regarding some grant writing
Yes.
presentation.
So Katie Ridnour is here to do a presentation. There she is. It looks like you're in your car, Katie.
I
Um,
am.
Just to give you guys a little background, over the break, Ben Rose and I met with Katie. She does some work with North Carolina charter schools, and I belong to a group that I meet with regularly of directors. And so they got into a conversation about her work and about grant writing and how helpful it's been. And we wanted to kind of just find out some more information about it. And so I asked if she would be able to come and do a much better job than me, kind of explaining what she does as a grant writer and what that might look like if we decided in the future to partner with her. So tonight's not really about making any decisions. It's just about opening up a conversation and having the person who's an expert at this answer questions and kind of finding out more about this as a way to ensure some more financial stability for us going forward. And also, one of the big areas we know that we need some support in is looking at our facilities and HVAC and roofing. And although we have money from Blue Clay, it would be wonderful to take advantage of some of the grants that are out there to try to supplement that and save that money for other stuff. So Katie, I'm gonna make you the host so that you can present your screen. Would you like that?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay, let me. Okay, Katie, I think you're the host.
It looks that way. Let me get this pulled up. Okay. Now let me pre. Okay, can you all see the slide there?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks for having me tonight. I'm sorry I'm in my car. I'm leaving another board meeting to come to this board meeting, so I'm happy to be with you tonight. So I'm Katie Ridenour. So let me tell you a little bit about me. Much shorter hair there, but So I've been an educator for 28 years. I started in middle school, taught high school and college. And then I decided to open a school because I had so many college students who were not ready. And I thought, gosh, we need to start when they're younger. So I opened a charter school in 2015 and I ran it as the principal for a few years. And now, now I'm a consultant writing grants. And that's where I got started writing grants was, when you open a school, you don't have any money. So someone said, hey, Katie, there's this charter school program grant that the Department of Education does. Why don't you apply for it? It's $600,000. Little did I know that that's the hardest type of grant to write. But, ignorance is bliss. So I dove on in and we did receive the grant. So that really just was such a difference maker in running our school. And so I'm also an author. I've published 2 books with ASCD. They're both education books, one on classroom management, one on parent engagement. And, since I've started writing grants, I've secured over $19 million for schools. And it'll be over 20 at the end of the month. Fingers crossed, we have another big grant coming in. So that's me. Why I do this is because, I think every child should have access to a high quality school. And with every grant I write, I know there's money going to support children's education. I'm a proud mom of 3 boys. One graduated from Chapel Hill. One will graduate from American College of Building Arts in Charleston, which is a trade school. He'll get a bachelor's degree and he'll be an architectural woodworker. And then I have a son going to Oxford in the fall. Every family needs to have those kinds of options for their kids because that's how we're going to optimize the skill sets we have in our kids is when they have those kind of options. And so if I can get resources to your school so kids realize like, hey, do I want to be a woodworker? Do I want to be an attorney? Do I want to be a computer science person? I don't really know what my oldest son does. I know he has a degree in computer science. That's where my knowledge ends, but it works for him. So that's why I do what I do. So these are some of the grants that have been awarded. Sorry to move everybody all over the place. So it starts from foundation grants like the Lisa Libraries. This is a really nice kind of easy grant to write. They'll give you $4,000 worth of books. You tell them what kind of books you want and they'll ship them to you. You just have to pay shipping. So a couple $100. And so I helped Next Generation Academy in Greensboro get that. The Jimmy Johnson Foundation, $33,000. I helped Invest Collegiate Transform in Charlotte get this one. And this is a really hard grant to write because I know multiple schools that have tried to get it and they're like, you got it, Katie? It's really hard. We've tried 4 times. So I don't know if I got lucky or if they're, I don't, but anyway, we were able to get that one. The Glass Foundation, that was for Brevard Academy, $50,000 to help go towards a building project they were working on. And then, of course, the school safety grants. I helped one school get $98,000, and I've helped 5 schools get the SRO grant that comes out every year. The NC Access grant. I've had over $5 million awarded for schools, but the highest one was $1 million for TMSA, which they have 3 schools and they're replicating, and so the $1 million was a replication grant. And then the 21st Century After School Program grant, which is coming out next month. I helped Next Generation win an award of $1.2 million, which is $400,000 over a 3-year period. And then the last one, $1.25 million, was another federal grant, and I helped Charlotte Lab get that to open their high school, which opened in 2000. When did they do that? That was 2020. They opened that during COVID. So that's just gives you an idea, so I work on foundation grants, corporate grants, state and federal grants. It's really all about aligning the project you want to achieve with the grant that's out there and what that grant wants to achieve and getting that alignment and telling that compelling story. And when I can get all that to mesh, that's when we have a winning grant application. Okay. And so these are my grant services. It starts all the way from, hey, Katie, these are all the things we want funded. We have no idea where to find a grant for them. So I dive in and I do research and I'll come up and I'll say, hey, here are 10 or 12 that I think are really good matches. And so do you want to pick a few of them and I'll dive in even deeper, and then we'll select one to go after. And I also do editing and revising. So if you found a grant, you have people on your team who want to take a stab at writing it, but they're not super confident that it's, ready for prime time. So give it to me, and then I will polish it up and say, hey, I need this information, or, give you feedback. I also do project management, like with the Charlotte Lab project. They wrote pieces of it, but they just needed a driver because they didn't have the time to manage the project. And, grants are on a tight timeline usually. You usually have somewhere between 6 to 4 weeks to complete a grant. So that's what I did. I was the driver. I wrote sections, like operational sections, and then they wrote the vision sections because they had, they knew what they wanted for their school. I also write grants, say, hey, Katie, we just need you to write this one, and then I'll just give you a list. This is all the content that I need, and you can give it to me however you want. Just a bunch of bullets, or hey, here's our charter application, and you can get it from our original ed plan. However we want to work that. And then I do training. I have a grant workshop. So if you have some teachers who you think would be, are really excited about going after grant opportunities, I have a 4 workshop online, they do it at their own pace kind of class because I want to multiply myself. There's no reason that I'm the only one with this skill set, and I'm not. There are other grant writers, but they should be on your staff, right? So if you can get people on your staff to do this, then that's even better, because then you have people in-house who are constantly looking for what you need because they live it and breathe it every day. So that's nice, short and sweet. I didn't want to take up too much of your time, but here's my contact information. What questions do you have?
I have a quick question. So how does it work in terms of your payment or your salary? Some grant writers take a portion, but I know you have a variety of services. How does that work?
Well, so for me, I do it based on time. So I look at an application. So if you're hiring me for writing, I will look at an application. I'll say, okay, this is a 10-hour application. And then I charge my hourly rate. And, I can't base my payment on award because I can't guarantee the outcome. That I could write a really solid application that, it included everything. It was a compelling story. It had all the data. It was well researched. But then the political winds changed, and the foundation decided that they're not funding that type of program anymore, even though they advertised that they did. All right. So my Duke Power bill still has to get paid, so, a percentage isn't really considered necessarily an ethical choice because, did I really, if I did 10% of a $1 million grant, did I really earn 10%? I don't know. I don't think so. Right. I'd want all that to go to kids. So that's how I do it. Now for the research, for the training, that's a flat fee. Research is $7. The course is $105. So those kinds of things. But otherwise, it's based on time.
Thank you. That helps.
You're welcome.
Has
What
this
else
gone
are you
to
wondering? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and this is actually for probably the director. Has this gone to finance yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
What I proposed to Danielle and Ben when we spoke last month, I believe it was, seems like a million years ago, Danielle, with the holiday in there. But I proposed that, if we wanted to start with 15 hours a month, and then, we could do some research, apply for a smaller foundation or corporate grant, and then really see if this partnership's going to work, right? So do it for 3 months and then assess, because it takes a little bit of time to get that flywheel spinning. I've been with a couple schools for a few years, and, like Next Generation, I've helped them get almost $2 million worth of grant funding, but it didn't happen right away. But after 3 months, we're going to get some feedback, and you're going to understand, like, is she someone we want to work with? Does she understand the vision of the school? And that what I recommended in the proposal, but I'm open to change that. That's what I've done with other schools, and it's been successful.
Katie, if I could, what you explained to me, and I think this would be helpful for others to hear, of some of the pitfalls that schools get into by going after with the lack of the management aspect and the skill behind that. And I think you made a really good point, which was there's all kinds of grants out there, and people will apply for them, but not have an understanding of the basic requirements for some of these grants. And your point was you spend quite a bit of time spinning your wheels and then to find out, oh, well, you don't even have the basics to meet those requirements. But instead, you are a proponent of coming up with a needs list first.
Yes.
And then basing your your grant opportunities and research based off your actual needs to narrow that down and have more focus.
Yes.
And so if you could just elaborate on that I think that would help. We got the benefit of talking to you before, but I think that might help with some understanding as well.
Sure, absolutely, Ben. Happy to do it. So I write a free monthly grant report, and the risk of that is people get that report in their inbox and they start looking like, we could use a garden, we could use a STEM lab, but that's not anywhere in the school's mission. It's not part of your 5-year plan. And so then they go for this grant, but they have no data to support it because it hasn't been part of the school's plan. So nobody's been collecting data on it. So now you have to go create this data, and maybe you have it, maybe you don't. And so instead of wasting your time going for a grant that's really not an integral part of your mission, is start with what is it that is really going to help move your mission forward, right? What do your kids need? What do your teachers need, to make this school operate, to make CFCI the best school option out there? And so I'll tell people that's not a good match for you. I'll tell you an example that just came out. I had 5 or 6 different schools reach out. Hey, Katie, would you write this DLI grant? It's that digital learning grant. It's $20,000. And I told them no, because I've helped the same school twice, write this grant. And what they did was they had a teacher write it, and then I helped her. And the first time it was a really strong application, and she received a no. But they told her why. And I said, okay, well, let's go for it again. And I didn't charge because I thought, okay, we're just going to get this. Well, she didn't get it again. And it was well-researched. I mean, it was a beautiful application. So now I'm like, people, it's only $20,000. Don't waste your time. And they only give 5. And you are competing with school districts and charter schools. So your chances of getting this grant are really low. So I don't like to go for grants when it's, less than 25% chance that you're going to get it. I'm like, no, let's go for something that you have a really great opportunity to get, not that I have to have it easy, but we want it to be likely. We want them to say, that this is really something that's possible for your school. So that's where I would start. Ben's exactly right. You want to start with what's important for your school, and then we go find those grants, because think about it. Every grant that's put out there is put out with an organization that has its own goals, right? So they have a mission that they want to achieve by giving this grant funding. So the better you can align your mission and vision with their mission and vision, the more they can see like, oh, we can really work together. And then once an organization funds you once, you're much more likely to get funded again, because they're like, oh, we've worked with them. We like their results. We want to grow that project, or we want to see what else they can do. So once you can get in the door with some funders, then it's a matter of just reapplying. And some funds will say, well, the first year you'll get approved for the first year. And then they'll see, like, do you report on time? Right? Are you easy to work with? Right? Are your documents clean? And if they see that, oh yeah, this is a really good group to work with, then they'll fund you again and again. So that's what I like to do, is to find that really good mission alignment. And then I'm like, let's go for it. This is a great opportunity.
Is part of your, like, the things that you do for other schools, do you do the reporting requirements? Are you, is that something that you do, or is that something that you teach the school to do? Because I know that there are a lot of, and some of them are really quirky and very specific, and it can be a job in and of itself.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Amy. And I'll go back to that Jimmy Johnson Foundation. It was $33,000, which, hey, that's a lot of money. But the amount of reporting that went with that $33,000, I don't know if I'd apply for it again, because they did like bi-monthly reporting, then an annual report. And so that school did hire me to do the reporting, because the school leader was like, I don't have the bandwidth. And Katie, you wrote the application, so you'll know how to do the reporting. So that is something we can negotiate, that I help with the reporting, and, have, she gave me a point person at the school who would be able to get me all the data. Like, we had to upload pictures of the kids, using the computers that they bought with the money. And, I'm not at the school, so someone else had to send me the pictures. But yes, those, like the federal grants, those charter school program grants, pre-COVID days, that involved 3 days up in Washington, D.C. every year for the life of that grant. And that was a requirement. Plus, you had to do quarterly reporting and an annual report. So it's pretty substantial reporting. And now the smaller grants, the foundation and corporate grants, they usually will have you do one report at the end of the project period. And they're not too bad. And that one, I would say, let me just talk you through it. You don't need to pay me to do that. But for the big ones, I could see that as a reasonable request.
Are you a one-woman show?
I am a one-woman show. I have one consultant who I work with sometimes, but for the most part with the grant writing, I do most of it myself.
Thank you.
I think something for the board probably to consider, and Katie, I think it'll be extremely important for you to know about how our school operates. We're a shared, and I'm sure Danielle and Ben, you probably shared some of this with her. We're a shared leadership school. So the ideas for the needs and wants and the hows and whys are driven by the teachers. And so the time going into making the decisions and what it will look like and how to best proceed really start at the roots of the teachers and in the classrooms and even with the students. And it takes a lot of time. And there's a lot of flow from the classroom up to the support team and back down. And so if we're talking about payment by time, then that I would imagine could get costly unless we could do some of that in-house and you could say, give me X, and that's what I need to do to start my work. So when we're, for me, I think, okay, we're a school that's on a tight budget. How much does this cost? Is one of my, is this going to be worth the cost, basically? So that I think that's something that we need to consider, is the time to get to the point of being able to write one. Could you say, get me to this point and I'll be able to run with it? Or are you involved from the get-go? And is it going to take a really long time for us to get to the point where we can say, okay, now we've decided what we want. What's our next step? That was a lot of information.
Right. And I do know, I'm aware of CFCI's shared leadership model. I used to work with Tom Miller with Leaders Building Leaders, and so I'm familiar. But I think that's a really good question. So maybe I should tell you a little bit about how I operate. And I'm sorry, there's a car honking. I'm sorry if you can hear that. But so what I do with the grant is once you all say, hey, this is the one we want to go for, I take the application and I create a strategic calendar, and I break down the application process into a timeline for the school. And so it'll tell you exactly what I need at each week's meeting. So then however you all collect that information, you do that on your own time. It's just when we meet, usually I set up a weekly meeting. Once we're go time writing a grant, we'll do a weekly meeting and we'll just work on that one square with all those items. And so as long as you come to that meeting and say, okay, Katie, let's talk through it. I'm going to send you these documents. then that's all the time it takes. So that can really be driven by the school about how much or how little I'm involved with that conversation. But typically it's done at the school, and then whoever's on the team with me, usually it's the head of school, and then whomever else, they're on the academic side that needs to be involved. That's who comes to the meeting with me. But so that time's kind of limited. Most of my time is doing research and writing, and then submitting drafts for approval.
That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Katie, can you provide us with the documentation of your fees and your scales and that kind of thing, so that when this has time to actually go to the faculty and to the committees, that we actually have that information in front of us?
I have provided Danielle a proposal. I do have a fee sheet that I can send. So would you like the proposal sent out, or would you want the my fee sheet?
Any information that you have would be great. I'm sorry, this is the first we're hearing of this today, so I'm sorry if you're repeating things that you've already done, but that would be great.
Absolutely. No problem at all. Danielle, what makes sense to you? You've seen the proposal. Would it make sense to share that with the board?
I don't think yet. Like, I think we need to, I think I will share it with the finance and then find out what other information the board would like first, because even the proposal that you gave me dates on it, and so we would need to look at revising that.
Sure.
To make it more general.
Okay. Well, I'll let you drive that. You tell me, when you want to update that, what other information you need. No problem.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Katie. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay. If there's nothing else, I will get on down the road.
Thank you.
Nice meeting everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So Lakeisha, just I'll share my screen again, but I just wanted to say, so next steps would be for the board to think on this a little bit, and then let me know what other information you'd like me to collect. Like 1 or 2 other pieces of information are going to come from feedback from finance, and then feedback from the staff, which I can bring back to the board. Is there anything else you would like me to look into before bringing back actual numbers to you guys?
I would like some recommendations other than the person she got information about our school from.
When you say that, Sarah, I meet with a group of leaders.
Okay. Well,
And
maybe schools that she worked with too, like people, recommendations of people she's actually made money for and gone through the process with.
Okay, yeah, that's not a problem at all.
Okay.
And if
Does she still, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead, Stephen.
does she still work with Tom?
No.
She doesn't. Okay. I'm just looking up her background and stuff, and there's some controversial stuff. So I'd like to hear some more about her too.
And if we should decide to go onto that path of partnering with a grant writer, I think it would probably be a good idea to reach out to some other grant writers and see what they would have to offer. So that way we just have some folks to choose from. But I like that we're thinking that this could be something that could be really helpful for us and for just the longevity of the school, basically. Those are the only things I can think of in addition to everything else.
And the pay structure, it doesn't have to be a percentage, but they should definitely pay for themselves, right? That's one of the things that when you're working with nonprofit organizations, across the board, you might have a professional grant writer on staff, but they're obligated to bring in X amount of dollars that you can count on, and how they get it is, that's their job, right? So it doesn't, not that I'm against a time payment plan, hourly or whatever, however she does it, but there are other options. So it just, this kind of feels like out of left field for me personally. Just not that I don't like it. I think it's a good idea, but I think we need more than a one-woman show, perhaps.
So I'm hearing that we're gonna get some more information about a couple other options, bring those to the table.
So
Get-
can I say something first, Danielle, please, before you sum it up? I'm really feeling like this process is going completely backwards. I'm really concerned that it started here at the board rather than with the faculty and with the committees, which is our shared leadership structure. This feels like we're now asking what else the board wants when the faculty's not even had a discussion about it. The first drop of it was today, this afternoon at shared leadership. Sorry, that's not the real name of it anymore, but at that committee meeting. And then the board teachers got an email shortly after that. And then here we are now. And so it just feels really backwards. And that concerns me greatly because this is not the way that things typically flow to the board without, especially things that are going to cost money and things that we don't even know what the plan is for this. It does feel kind of out of left field. Again, I think grant writing is a wonderful option. However, it doesn't feel to me like we have addressed things that are a little more pressing in looking towards next year and with our current needs in the building and things that we said were going to happen this summer and things like that seem like more of a priority in the moment to me. So that's my thought.
So I was not aware that I could not bring something for a presentation and information to the board before bringing it to the staff. I wanted to see if the board was interested in it, if this is something they wanted me to pursue. I was under the impression that part of this role is trying to secure funding for us for the future and for the health of the school. And so this is something that Ben and I just had this conversation with her over the break, thought it was a little bit of a such an advantage if we can look at the fact that we're losing some ESSER funds next year. And if we can get into a place where we're proactive and can start talking about it and then figure out what this could look like. But
and
not
I absolutely get that.
Sorry, Joanne, I'm not done yet.
Excuse me.
Absolutely not excluding the staff and not bringing it other places, but really wanted to find out if this is something that the board might be interested in. I feel like it's my responsibility to bring ideas and bring presentations to the board so that they can decide what other information they might like me to bring. And part of that information is what is the feedback from the staff.
I mean,
Are you finished?
Joanne,
I just wanted
to
say that I understand that absolutely. However, this has already gone to the point where she submitted a proposal, which leads me to think that the discussions have been more in depth than perhaps just seeking information.
I asked her about her pay structure and she sent me her pay structure, and in her pay structure, she said, this is how it could look. And that's honestly, we've had one meeting with her. I really, I feel like this is one of those times where I really wish there was more trust in this team. I'm trying to do something good for the school. And I don't know what else to say.
I don't want there to be a perception that is not well received. I totally get Joanne's point. That's a little bit out of the norm. I think Danielle is coming from a very authentic and genuine place of here's a possible option, something for us to think about. It's already been decided that teacher council will have a say into this, figuring out what the school thinks about it from that staff point of view. And considering that we're halfway through this school year, we've got to be cognizant of the fact that time might be an issue. If there are some things we want to get done over the summer, and there are some grants out there that we might want to pursue, time may not be on our side. So it may not be so much as a careless, let's just go ahead and move forward, as much as it is, we're halfway through our school year. We need to at least try to get this ball rolling. So that's just my thoughts, just putting that out there. This is just how we're trying to work together and function all as a community and as a team. I think everyone is on the same side. We're just have some differences in how things are coming out and how some things are received. Some things land on some of us a little differently than others. So I want us to all be cognizant of that and try and be a little sensitive to that. I'm glad that we had a chance to talk to a potential grant writer, because this is something that's going to help our school if we go into some grant writing contract with anyone. Definitely seen as a good thing. So let's just see what the feedback is from teacher council and everyone else. We're certainly not moving forward with any big decisions now. We don't even know if we're going to do any partnership with a grant writing company at this point. We're so very much in infancy stages. It's way too early to call it. So let's just kind of gather some of that information together, or rather Danielle will gather some of that information from teacher council and all of our other stakeholders, and we'll revisit and revise. Does that sound decent? Fantastic. All right, if there's nothing else with that stuff, let's go on to our next agenda item about vote on mask, which I'm sure that has been on everyone's mind as of late. Are there any questions, anything that we might need to go over a little bit as we start to make a discussion before we go into a vote? I took a look at some of the things in the health update. I don't know if
Did you want me
Danielle,
to share that part of the screen, Lakeisha?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so here are some things to consider before your vote. Gives you the case numbers from last week. It gives you the vaccination status. I would like to mention that the vaccination status of staff and students is probably not completely accurate. It's only what's reported to us. So it's very possible that there are more staff, for example, that have their booster that haven't given us cards. It is very possible that there are more students who have been fully vaccinated and parents have not gotten us their cards. So I just want to mention that this is just, we've asked in multiple ways many times for them. This is just what we have. So I can't, this is the best information I have.
Danielle, I thought our staff percentage was much higher. I distinctly recall like a 94% or something like that when we talked about it. This was pre-booster, but are new hires coming in and they haven't just given you that information yet? I'm not sure why there's.
I think it was 94% at the end of last year. And then we had quite a lot of new hires between, remember that when we say staff, that's everybody, that's like every person works in the building, the TAs, the office staff,
Right.
So that's what we have right now.
Yeah, that surprised me when I saw it.
So how would staff or families report updated info? Like if I'm a parent and I got my kid vaccinated, but I don't think I ever sent proof of my kid's vaccination card.
So we
What
sent
would
out several forms, like a Google form that you could attach to your child. So it said like, is your child vaccinated? Yes or no. And then you could actually attach in the form a copy of the vaccination record. So we've sent that out many times. And then we've also encouraged in every single update for people, if they don't want or to use that form, they can just basically just email us or email Jen every time we say our health expert the vaccination record. So that's how we've been trying to collect it.
So if a parent fills out the Google form and they say, yes, my child's vaccinated, my child's had a booster, but does not upload the image of the card, do you still count their questions as answered, or is the whole thing no because there's no image of their card?
We follow up with them. I mean, I'd say we'd want to get a card so that we wouldn't just be taking everyone's word for it, so that we have accurate information. But we would definitely consider that that's probably true information, but we'd like to follow up with them and just get a card so we have it on file.
Okay.
Just so you know, in the first 9 days that we came back after the break, we performed 136 COVID-19 tests, and 50 of those tests resulted positive. We've had more now in the last couple of days. And one of the things that I was asked for was the transmission rate at New Hanover County, just to have an idea what that is. And the hospitalization for that's like the average from the last week. Just some things to consider. The other thing that to consider is there's different guidance if you have a mask required setting versus a not mask required setting. So at this time, I would recommend to the board to continue masking, because it reduces, it gives us the opportunity to do an exemption, a test to stay exemption, where if kids are not symptomatic after 5 days, give them a rapid test and they can come to school. So if we don't have mandatory masking though, we cannot bring people back into the building even after those 5 days. So that would be my recommendation for keeping us in school.
Does the school
I just wanted to update that the county numbers are 31.7 today. That came out from the health department after their, oops, so sorry. That came out from the health department after their meeting. Did I get
slightly higher today?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do we know if the county health department or the county health department, do we know if they have an opinion on those at-home COVID tests? Like whether or not some health departments may accept them and some don't.
Is that something, Amy, could you answer that? I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, I believe they're encouraging all testing, so including rapid tests. But it's not a matter of not accepting it or not. Like they're not. The issue is reporting, right? Like you just don't know. the results of a rapid test, whereas the PCRs are reported. But I'm not sure I understand.
Well, like, okay, like a pregnancy test. You can do a home pregnancy test, but they always say come in and confirm that, and that's
Oh yeah, no,
basic,
there,
that sort of thing. Not all entities are giving a lot of validity to at-home tests. So I'm just wondering.
there are very few false positive rapid tests. There are some, there are quite a few false negative. So, but if you, I mean, if a family member has it, or you've been exposed and you have symptoms and you do a rapid, like, you can trust that test. It's not the same thing.
Not the same thing as
a pregnancy test.
Gotcha.
Like, I mean, Slade tells it, well, he may not bring a symptomatic patient in who's, for a PCR test when they have a positive rapid and, they got it from their spouse. So it's unnecessary to come in and confirm it.
You can have a negative rapid and a positive PCR. Yeah.
Right.
Is there any other information you would like before you vote?
I'm curious about what you're going to do with the guidelines. I know that's not like official board business, but, just transparency for the school, for parents, how we predict, like, are we going to keep the 20, that number, that standard we set as far as remote? I'm really concerned about the yo-yo effect for teachers, for kids, for parents. It would be nice to get your numbers and know, okay, well, we're over 20 and this is where we're going to stay. Or, okay, we've changed it to be, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as for now, these are the guidelines that we have right now. I think the issue is that we keep getting updated guidance in terms of it went from 10 days to 5 days. And so the 20 cases, when we originally developed the 20 cases, was within a 10-day time period. So it's not really in a 10-day time period anymore. So and when we originally developed those guidelines, we weren't talking about presumed positive cases. And I mean, there's just so many different factors that we're still talking about it. And as far as I know right now, this is where we are, but we are going to meet and talk about it again.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think the issue mainly is operational disruption, right? And kids being left behind if they're, if a quarter of the school is out, which is, looks like, so is that quarantine number the total of everybody that's not here? Or is it like 40?
That's students and staff. That's students and staff.
Like, not in the building, not counting like additional 40.
They wouldn't be in the building if we were in the building.
Right, right.
So that 82 would be the positive cases, the presumed positive cases, and the pending cases.
Okay, so I mean, that's almost a quarter of the school. Well, I guess I'm thinking students.
Yeah, I mean, not quite, but I understand your point. And yes, that is part of the decision making. Like, the part of the decision making is A, can we actually staff the classes? And then B, like, what kind of learning environment is going to actually be best for most kids, depending on the number of kids that have to be out of school. Right. And how manageable is that for a teacher? So if a teacher has a third of their class out, half of their class out, at what point does it become not manageable?
Right. I mean, I know, and I recognize that they can't do a hybrid situation in and out. It's just not, or even just short term. So these kids are just out. It's just absences and at a very high rate. Right. I'm sorry. I digress. We're talking
the thing that I would say to you is that if we count 5 days instead of 10 days, it will change the numbers
if we're going to change the 2020 case numbers.
So are we going to have a COVID ad hoc meeting? Because we haven't had one of those in a while. Like who's meeting?
I have been meeting with the leadership team, or a few of the leadership team, the school nurse, and also a pediatrician that's been advising. I found that the COVID ad hoc was that we were not making decisions based from science or logistics, because we had people on there who are not running the school or the logistical side of it. And we also had parents on there, you being one of them. And sometimes you have some background in the medical field, but then we only had 2 parents on there and one of the parents did not. And so I didn't feel like we were able to make decisions that were unbiased and just based on data.
Okay.
Are we ready to go toward a vote, or are there any other questions or thoughts before doing that? All right, all those in favor of continuing the mask mandate for another month, please say so.
How about a motion? That might be good.
Oh, yeah.
I move to keep masks in place for another month.
There you go.
And do we have a second? Is that you giving a second, Dr. Hill?
Sure, why not?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All those in favor? And looking at all my little boxes, we're good to go. All right, looks like we are going to keep our mask mandate for one more month. All right, and then the next thing on our agenda is a staffing update.
So we have one new hire for the board to vote on. Her name is Susan Graciano. She has a Doctor of Education, and she is filling the role of HR manager.
Fantastic. And I was looking for, there it is, her name in the staffing report. And how did Susan come to us? I know we did there was a panel and all that.
Yep, there was a panel of people we interviewed. Actually, I wasn't on the panel. There was, I don't remember how many candidates that were interviewed, 3 or 4. And this was the recommendation of that panel.
Fantastic.
Danielle, I'm sorry, Lakeisha.
No, go ahead.
I know when we restructured the position, last year, the finance and HR were combined, then we split them again. And then when Tasha was there, it went from half or 3/4 to full-time. What is this position now?
So I don't know if you remember, but
it may have happened in November when I wasn't there, so I didn't. If that information's already out there, you can tell me later.
And, well, it's a full-time position, but it's partially funded by, actually the whole position this year is funded by a grant that we got.
Okay.
So the grant is a testing grant. And so one of the things that you're allowed to use the money for is for your human resource staffing, because that person can help you support with testing in the way of keeping track of vaccination records for staff, keeping track of vaccination records for kids. So actually that whole position right now is funded through that grant.
So when we look at budget for next year, then we're going to have to figure out what's going to happen with that.
Correct.
Okay, because that's a temporary full-time then, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we just need to mark that somewhere to make sure we figure that out, which I'm sure you already have, but Okay, thanks.
Did you say where she came from? The doctor of education? Does she have HR experience? It's kind of, that's what stands out at me.
She was last working in Pender County schools. She's been in leadership roles. She started a charter school where she did all of the HR work herself. So she did all the onboarding, she did all the benefits, she did recruiting, hiring, contracting, policy work. So she's done all of that. And I think she was just looking for, I don't think she was doing.
Gotcha.
So we're actually really lucky we got very skilled who just wants to a more joyful setting.
Says that she's the principal at Penderella.
She's not.
She's not. That's what Pender County Schools has her listed as.
Sounds like they might need to update their website.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
All righty. Any other questions before I ask for a motion to approve our new hire?
Can I ask one more question, Danielle? Is she the assistant principal at Topsail High School?
Not anymore.
Topsail High School has her listed there too. That's weird.
Yeah, she was. And they were very, very sorry to see her leave. And she had glowing recommendations.
All right, may I have a motion to approve Susan Graziano for our new HR position?
I move that we hire, I guess, is that the verb? I guess Susan Graziano as our HR manager in this temporary one-year position.
And a second?
I'll second.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lori. So we have a vote now. All those in favor of Susan Graziano as our new hire for the HR position? All those in favor, I see 1, 2. Fantastic. All right, motion carried. We have a new HR manager in place. All right, moving on our agenda. Danielle, if you can continue on with your director's report. I know you talked on a couple things already, but.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So the next thing on the report is fundraising. So I just wanted to a historical sort of comparison of the money that was raised with Fund the Wonder over the years. So you can see what the goals were and then the amount of money that's been raised in the past. I'm pretty excited and happy about the amount that we raised, although it wasn't the goal of 40. We learned a ton and did pretty well compared to our historical earnings. So that was a really good partnership between the partnership and the school this year. So I think together it shows that we can do so much. And looking forward to even doing more with that next year. That money, about 10,000 of that is earmarked for teacher stipends and grants. And the 11,000 of the rest of that money is going towards outside learning spaces. Now, the outside learning spaces will cost more than 11,000, so that is going to be just part of the money that we need to raise and pull together before we can actually spend. Art Under the Oaks is the next fundraising in the
Horizon, it would be May 7th from 6 to 9. It's going to be at school on the 4th through 8th grade playground. There'll be music, food, and food trucks that people will pay for their own food trucks, but we will have some food there that is included with the ticket. We're also going to be selling beer and wine. There'll be a silent auction of art. So every class is going to make some type of art that they're going to silently auction. We're going to have gift baskets, and we'll also make money through the ticket sales. And the last thing that we're looking into as a development committee is sponsorships. And the money would be used to improve our outdoor playground. So this would be more money that would be added to the money that was already raised to try to support all the different play spaces at school.
Danielle, are we allowed to sell beer and wine on school property?
We are.
We are.
You have to get a permit, and you can't actually exchange the money for the alcohol. So what you do is you sell the drink tickets, and then you exchange a drink ticket for a beverage.
And we're going to be insured on that.
Yes.
Would that cover underneath insurance and stuff in case a kid gets a hold of it, or things like that?
Oh, I guess I should have mentioned it's an adult
Okay, yeah, that didn't.
event. Okay. I did not mention that. It's only adults.
Okay.
Oh yeah, way to bury the lead there.
Sorry.
That's our key ticket right there.
Guess I should have said that before the beer and wine part. Yeah.
That's how you get us there. We find out we don't have to bring our little ones.
Yeah, and so the development committee we've divided and conquered before. And we're looking at like renting tables and finding the musicians and the food trucks and all that kind of stuff. So I can update you on how that's going, but that's the plan for the next event. And the next part is the lottery. So the lottery numbers as of 1/11 are as follows. One interesting thing to note is the number of students that we have on the applications for 6th grade are quite high comparatively.
Interesting.
How do those numbers line up with spaces? Availability, or are those the availability?
No, these are applications. So, I mean, they're all over the number of spaces that are open currently.
Okay.
So right now, if we had to, and all those people actually said yes to the spot, we would have all of our spots filled. Like right now, we're at 404, which is really good for this time of year. And we will have 40 kinder openings. So you see we have 61. Now, typically, I would say like that is not the number we're going to end up with. And I wouldn't be happy with that number because 61 is not very far over that 40. But I think that over the next month, we should see an increase in the applications. So we're doing 2 more parent information sessions, and we're going to do a better job of advertising those. So we had a set 1, but we only had about 4 parents. And the issue is that we had extended the invitation to all of the people who applied, but it didn't get on our website fast enough for anybody to go. So I think the next 2 sessions, we're trying to get flyers out into the community. And so one of the sessions is this Saturday, and then the next one is February 1st in the evening. We tried to pick different times. So we picked like a Thursday, and then we picked a Monday, and we picked a Saturday to try to accommodate all kinds of different families that more about the school. And we're also trying to, we have a new flyer, and we're trying to put it's the same information that's been on the website, but we just put it onto a flyer so that we could pass it out around the neighborhood. And we are in the process of trying to get it into Spanish so that we could also appeal to a more diverse audience.
Does this include sibling applications?
Yes.
Okay. Because that, I mean, when I looked at that at first, I was like, oh my gosh, that's low, but this is early into our application process. So, because normally we have like over 100, like sometimes 150 just for kindergarten, but I guess we have a little bit of time left. So
When I looked last year, I mean, last year's probably not a great comparison still in your COVID times, but I lotteries is fairly new, so I can't pull a historical database. But what I did was I looked last year at your report of these numbers in the February board meeting, and it was about 100 more than what you see right now. So you're talking about 6 weeks ahead and having 100 more, which I think is pretty doable. I don't think it's that far off.
I know one of the things when we were working on our strategic plan, it's probably almost 5 years ago, with Tom Miller, he had all of that data of our numbers for our wait list, and it was starting to tick down. And that was one of the part of the conversation. And one of the things we said we needed to watch was, you know, if your application numbers start going down, that's something to start looking at, because that's a potential red flag. So I don't know, you may be able to track those numbers down. That data is sitting somewhere.
So through Tom?
It was in that paperwork. It's somewhere. I mean, we haven't used the system that we're using now, but those records are somewhere.
Yeah, we have those numbers. We for sure have those numbers, but it has gone down historically. I mean, even when I came 4 years ago, we were at like 385 or something like that. So it has been declining. I think we really have to remember, though, we need to do more recruiting. Like, Danielle was saying, I mean, we've got to look for ways to, garner more marketing or educating of our surrounding area. And remember, this is COVID. And I think, I mean, I'm so sick of that word and what it is all about, but COVID is not friendly, has not been great for charters. A lot of people have pulled their children from charters or from public school and are homeschooling right now.
Well, and there's more choices. There's so many more charter schools now than there were 4 years ago.
Well,
so,
and in our age range, right, Sarah?
Right.
I mean, you've got Wilmington School for the Arts. There's a lot of them. I mean, there was new ones. So,
yeah.
And
what's the application deadline?
I believe it's February 15th.
Yeah.
Danielle, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I think the lottery.
Right about midway.
I'm sorry, can you still hear me?
Mhm.
Okay, I think I feel like it's February 15th or 16th.
It's February 15th. It closes the day before the lottery. And I just wanted to mention that the enrollment team is using these numbers to gear marketing, for instance, towards 4th grade students across the county. And so we are definitely using this data to make plans over the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, Lisa. And just like a long-term, plan, we started conversations about, so now I've lived like a little bit of a half of a year of events. I can see where there are places where we could utilize some of those events to draw in some of our neighborhood families to learn about the school. So for example, the Winter Fest, we could offer a ticket to families in the community to try to get them to come out and learn about the school. So I think we could use some of the events that we already hold to try to educate the community more about the school. So it's just something we're thinking about. And I think that's it for that.
Quick question. Prospective parents, do they have to attend the information session in order to submit an application?
No.
Okay. Okay.
And I also wanted to mention that one of our other strategic plans with this is that
we want to make sure that once we do the lottery and the families are accepted, and the ones that say yes, they want the spot, that we maintain a monthly communication with them. Because last year there was a fall off over the summer, and I think we can prevent some of that by making sure they're getting newsletters, making sure that we're inviting them to things, making sure that they're getting regular communication from us, and that they start feeling like they're part of our family, so that we don't lose any of those families over the summer.
That's a good idea. When you're planning your outreach in terms of recruiting and that sort of thing, you might want to consider, if you haven't already, visiting some of those elementary schools that are nearby. Well, maybe I shouldn't say elementary schools.
Preschools.
Yes, thank you. Like the NC pre-Ks, those types of places, because I think, one, you'll get some of your needs met in terms of your age group, whether, depending on how many kindergarten slots you have, or if some of these children have older siblings. You might want to do the same thing at some of the elementary schools as children are going into middle school. However you think that's going to work better for our school, but just a thought to throw that out there, and to recruit some of those other things, the diversity that you were talking about and that sort of thing. Sometimes those schools have parent nights for schools like ours to come in and give a little presentation or meet and greet kind of thing for some of their families, preschools and whatnot, childcare centers.
I had actually planned on going to one on Thursday. I was invited to have a booth and present, but then it got canceled because of COVID. But yes, absolutely. Those are great opportunities. And I also just wanted to give a shout out to the Culture and Climate Committee, because they've also been talking about this, and they've also been planning about going to preschools, going to the Boys and Girls Club. So it's really a team effort, and they have been really proactive in thinking about some of those things.
Awesome. Any other questions on anything else from director's report? All right. Any other announcements or anything else anyone wanted to chime in about? We didn't put it on the agenda, but if anyone wanted to make any kind of announcement about board goals, you can do that now, or we'll definitely have it on the agenda for next month.
I have something.
Sure.
Where are we with the 360? I'm not on the executive committee, so I don't know what.
No, that's fine. I can definitely talk about that a little bit. Stephen and I met with Tom to talk through a few things, and Danielle sat in. And it's not quite as overwhelming as I first thought it was going to be. I don't know how the others felt, but what we talked about was, I've been writing little notes here next to me all evening. We talked about there basically being 3 components to that evaluation. Danielle will have a component, almost like a self-reflection, that she'll submit. There'll be another section that comes from exec committee, and then another one that is stakeholders. And stakeholders includes staff, includes families, that sort of thing. So Danielle will do her self-reflection.
Right. Not to interrupt you, but I know what it is. I just want to
know
know
that
you
do,
when
but
it's
I don't know that everyone else does.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So I'm sorry. I should have said that before, because I don't even know if there are people listening who may not have even known that we were talking about 360 before. I
Feel
try
like
to
we've
keep
been
in
talking
mind.
about it forever.
Yes. But I know some folks might be watching on YouTube and haven't even paid attention to that piece of it. So Danielle will have her self-reflection piece of it. Exec and voting members will have our evaluation piece of it. And then there'll be a stakeholders piece. And so the stakeholder piece, say, would include 10 to 20 different people. Danielle might have a list of folks that she would like to submit to exec committee, and then the board might have a set of names. And so exec committee will choose just randomly out of those names who we want to send an evaluation piece to. So say a teacher who is also a board member gets that evaluation, they need to complete that not as a board member, but as a staff member. And it's just a way to have some internal feedback that goes into that report. I don't want anyone to feel like they're quote unquote evaluating her, because that's really just for voting members, but it's just a way to have some feedback for her and for voting members. And Danielle will have a chance to know what her expectations are beforehand. So she'll know how she's going to be evaluated.
I mean, it'll be like a questionnaire, like it's in a format, right? Like
yes,
everybody gets the same thing and then gives their.
Yes, exactly.
That's
Definitely a very standard format. I don't even think, as I understand it, there would be a difference between what a family gets and what a staff member may get. There's also a piece where we'll ask for a performance framework from DPI to know how our school measures up on some things, and that will go into the evaluation as well. So long of the short, it's just a collaborative process, and the plan is to have that done in time for this year so that Danielle can have it for her first year starting out. And might have to work out some kinks in the execution of it. We'll see when it happens, but the plan is to have that ready before the end of this school year. So this school year we'll be able to use it for the first time and hopefully be rid of the traditional state principal evaluation that has been used in the past that doesn't really fit our school so much. And Stephen or Danielle, if I skipped something or misspoke on anything, definitely feel free to correct me.
You're good. I see no need to correct.
Fantastic. So I'll say the same thing next month too, in case we do a board goal thing. Maybe I have more to say then too. Anybody else have anything else? All right. Anything else that we need to add to our next agenda? All right, so well then in that case, with no further ado, if there's nothing else, friends, let's go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I'll
And a
second.
second, please. I got a second from Mr. Chuck. All those in favor? Fantastic. All right. We are officially adjourned for the evening. Have a wonderful night, friends. Stay safe.
Night,
Be
guys.
well.